Welcome back to our channel. In today's tutorial, we're going to dive deep into a crucial aspect of Java development, debugging. Specifically, we will explore how to use JRebel, a powerful tool that allows live reloading of code changes in Java applications without the need for a restart. Before we begin, let's clarify what JRebel does. JRebel enables developers to see code changes instantly, leading to a more efficient development workflow. Instead of restarting the application every time you make a change, you can refresh the state instantly, saving you a lot of time. Now, let's set up JRebel in our Java project. To get started, first, you'll need to download JRebel. Head over to the JRebel website and sign up. Upon registration, you will receive access to the download link. After downloading JRebel, you will typically have a .zip file. Unzip the file to a location of your choice. Take note of the path to the bin directory, as you will need it later. Next, let's integrate JRebel with an IDE. JRebel supports various IDEs such as IntelliJ IDEA and Eclipse. In this tutorial, I'll be using IntelliJ IDEA. Launch IntelliJ IDEA and open your Java project. Now we need to configure JRebel in IntelliJ. Go to File Settings, and then navigate to the Plugins section. Search for the JRebel plugin and install it if you haven't done so already. Once the installation is complete, you may need to restart IntelliJ IDEA. After restarting, you should see a new JRebel tab in the toolbar. This indicates that JRebel is properly installed. Now, let's configure JRebel to work with our project. Go to Run, but Edit Configurations. Click the plus button and select JRebel Application. Choose your main application class and ensure the necessary VM options are set. You might need to add the following line: Java agent, path/to/drebel.jar. Once configured, click OK, and let's move on to coding. For demonstration purposes, I'll create a simple Java application that has a few classes. I'll create two classes, app and myService. The app class is our entry point, and myService has a simple method to print a message. Now let's run this application. To run your application with JRebel, simply click the JRebel Run configuration. You should see Hello, World, and Processing printed in your console. This indicates that our application is running successfully. Now comes the exciting part, debugging with JRebel. Let's introduce a bug in our process method. Instead of printing processing, we'll throw an exception deliberately to simulate an error scenario. Now, save the file and observe the JRebel console. You will see JRebel is detecting the changes without needing to restart the application. This is the magic of having JRebel enabled. Now let's rerun the application. As expected, we get an exception in the console. Debugging in Java typically involves using breakpoints, so let's add a breakpoint to our process method to inspect the state of our application. To add a breakpoint in IntelliJ, click in the left margin of the code editor next to the line where you want the execution to pause. I'll add a breakpoint right before the exception is thrown. Now, right-click on your application and select Debug. JRebel will pick up this change as well. When the application hits the breakpoint, the execution will pause, allowing you to inspect variables and the state of the application. When execution pauses, you'll see the variables on the right side panel. You can evaluate expressions, step over lines, continue execution, or stop the program altogether. Let's inspect the flow until the exception gets thrown. Now, let's say you want to modify the exception message without restarting. Simply change the exceptions message in the process method. For instance, we can change it to throw a more descriptive error. Save the changes and continue running the debugging session. JRebel recognizes the changes and reloads the class dynamically while keeping the application state. Once the application hits the same line again, it will now throw the new exception message. That's the essence of debugging with JRebel, making changes on the fly and reinforcing your debugging process without interruptions. This drastically speeds up your development lifecycle, enabling you to test and debug in real time. Next, let's explore some advanced features of JRebel. One of the noteworthy features is the ability to reload configuration files without restarting your application. Let's modify a configuration file and see how JRebel picks up those changes. Let's say we have a configuration file called exampleconfig.xml. We can change the timeout setting from 60s to 30s. Once we save the configuration file, JRebel will detect this change, and the new configuration will be applied immediately. This feature is particularly useful in scenarios where configuration changes are frequent and can be tedious to apply while testing or debugging. You can make those changes on the fly without disrupting your workflow. Additionally, JRebel can also reload resource files, such as properties files or XML files, enhancing your productivity when dealing with localization or settings. In summary, JRebel enhances the Java development experience by reducing the turnaround time for code changes and configuration updates dramatically. Debugging becomes more iterative, allowing for rapid feedback from your application. Moving forward, please be sure to check out the JRebel documentation for more advanced usage scenarios and configurations based on your development needs. That wraps up our JRebel debugging tutorial. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more programming tutorials. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, drop a comment below. Happy coding!